And good morning and welcome to the Saturday Speakers Series sponsored through the San Diego Brain Injury Foundation. At this time, we have Rosa Monzon, a counselor and instructor with SDCCD in the ABI program. Good morning, Rosa.
Good morning, folks. How are you today? My name is Rosa. I am one of the DSPS counselors at San Diego Continuing Ed. And I'll explain a little bit about how we fall into SDCCD's umbrella of colleges. I specifically support the Acquired Brain Injury Program. I'm one of the counselors there that does intakes for folks who are interested in the Acquired Brain Injury Program at Continuing Ed. I also am an instructor for our DSPS program where I teach a relationships and sexuality class for folks with all disabilities. So that said, I can jump into it. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So Heike Kessler-Heiberg, who some of you folks might be familiar with, is the lead instructor or associate professor for the Acquired Brain Injury Program. She has been with the Brain Injury Program for many, many years. She's currently an instructor in that program, but unfortunately, she's going to be retiring. This is going to be her last semester. Fall semester is going to be the last semester with us, which is a little bit of a bummer. But just some insight on how San Diego Community or Continuing Ed works. So we're underneath the Community College District. We have City College, Miramar College, Mesa College, and the College of Continuing Ed. Now we are a free program or a free college for folks who are interested in training in certificate programs. We have ESL programs. We have basic skills for adults. And then we're under the umbrella of the DSPS program. So the Disability Support Programs and Services classes and programs. Now we both support folks who are in our certificate programs, and then we have classes specific for folks with disabilities. And the Acquired Brain Injury Program, or ABI program for short, is under the umbrella of DSPS programs and classes. So we have a few different programs for folks, and our hope in having that many programs is to make sure that we can support folks who are working, folks who might be going back to school, folks who might experience some challenges getting to class during the day or in the evening, whether that's because they're attending appointments or going to school or going to work. And then I'll talk about each one of these programs and kind of a bit about how they differ and kind of where we tend to start folks.
Sounds great.
Right. So non-fee, non-credit classes. So folks are able to, so the difference between Continuing Ed and the credit colleges is that folks are able to retake classes if they're non-credit. So folks can take our brain injury classes and programs indefinitely. So non-credit means that folks are not earning credits. They might be earning hours, but they're not earning credits for the classes. The fact that it's non-fee based is really helpful for folks. Sorry, let me make sure my computer's charging. Perfect. So the program supports folks with brain trauma. So that can be car accidents, any kind of trauma that sustained a brain injury, strokes, aneurysms, brain tumors, brain infection, anoxia, etc. There are tons of ways that folks can get a brain injury. These are just some of the things that, some of the ways that some of our folks have qualified for our program. So the philosophy and purpose, I guess, of our program is to support our students and giving them some tools that they need after brain injury in achieving a lot of their goals. So a lot of our folks are interested in going back to school after their brain injury or have acquired their injury in the middle of school and need some support, just basic community activities and volunteering. Transition to work reentry. So some folks are working with the Department of Rehabilitation, or some folks are working with their employer and getting back to work, figuring out what their accommodations might look like. Some things as basic as more independent living. And I think a large portion of our program is interpersonal relationships. So working on rebuilding their relationships with folks in their lives. And I'll give you some examples of some of the classes we have later on in the presentation, but some things like anger management, relationships and sexuality, all of the ways that brain injuries can affect folks' lives is what we hope to address. And because of the memory issues that some of our students have, or most of our students have, the ability to retake that class over and over can be really helpful for some folks. Or perhaps take classes, go to work, go to school, and then come back years later just to get some refreshers. So one area that we like to address within our program, or the instructors like to address within our program, is improving insight and awareness. So having a good idea of how one's brain injury affects their day-to-day life, whether that's at work, school, or in their personal life, exploring that is a huge part of our program. And you'll find that that happens a lot within a lot of our interpersonal classes, integrating strengths and limitations, figuring out what our limitations might be, how we might find accommodations or support services that might help us in our day-to-day life or in our professional lives. Developing strategies for greater independence. Not only do we have the ABI program that does provide those strategies, we have classes within the DSPS program that are outside of the ABI program where folks could really focus on those independent living skills as well. Enhancing quality of life. I think a large portion of our program, we have a lot of students who are returning students. And a lot of folks have built a network of friends that have since turned family. And, having that support system, having that group, it can really enhance one's quality of life. Rebuilding a sense of self. So most of our folks have acquired their brain injury later in life. Typically after the age of 15 is what we tend to go for, or I guess between 13 and 15. And rediscovering who you are post-brain injury is a really huge focus of ours. And that can take many semesters, that can take years. And so that's a huge focus of some of our instructors. Our staff includes speech and language pathologists, counselors, rehabilitation counselors, recreational therapists, and then paraprofessional support staff as well. So we have a plethora of different types of professionals within our program who come from different levels of expertise, and they tend to gear their class topics, which can change semester to semester, on their area of profession. So speech and language pathologist. So our instructor, Heike, our lead instructor, is a speech and language pathologist and typically teaches an aphasia class or a speech class for folks who experience aphasia. Our student demographic. So because we're underneath the community college district, folks have to be at the age of 18 in order to take classes with us. They don't have to have graduated high school or anything like that. But they tend to be between the ages of 18 and 80, which is a huge range. Sometimes we have an influx of younger folks who come in. As I mentioned, a lot of our students tend to be with us for long periods of time. So we have some students who have been with us for like 30 years. And so we've seen them through their entire adult lifespan. Most of our students, we get referred from SHARP or any of the surrounding programs or hospitals in the area. Folks tend to be about 1 month to several decades post-injury or post-onset. And that can be because folks sometimes don't recognize that they've had a brain injury, or we tend to encourage folks to exhaust their resources, go to as much speech therapy as your insurance will cover, go to as much rehabilitation counseling as your insurance will cover. And sometimes that takes, as we know, most of the day. And so we try to encourage folks to utilize those supports as much as possible. And if they need support in figuring out how to do that, we can do that too. Now, that doesn't mean that we say, no, you can't be a part of the program. But we tend to not want folks to feel overwhelmed so close post-injury. A lot of our folks have post-concussive syndrome, more severe injuries that involve comas, et cetera, a wide range of communication and behavioral challenges. So our schedule, our program used to be entirely in person at the CE Mesa campus, which is on the Mesa College campus. Mesa College's campus, just at the very start of the campus. So it used to be in person, all of our classes were in person. And then of course, COVID hit, as we know, and we had to move our entire 200 group of students online over Zoom, which was incredibly challenging, but it happened. And our program kind of grew from there because a lot of folks found it accessible. There's positive and negatives about being on campus and on Zoom. So we hope in future semesters we have a mix of the two, so it's accessible for all types of learners. In the fall, we still plan to be online. In the spring, we may have an in-person component to our classes. We're still kind of working out the details of that. As you can imagine, moving our entire program online posed an incredible challenge, and then moving everybody back in person is going to be just as challenging. There's barriers to transportation. Some folks just feel comfortable at home. Some folks are high risk. And so we're still trying to figure out what that might look like in the spring semester, but for the fall, we're going to be on Zoom. Our fall and spring semesters are 18 weeks, which is a pretty long semester. We tend to not have too many breaks between our semesters. And then our summer session is 6 to 10 weeks. This summer, it's about 10 weeks long.
How many students are part of the ABI program in total?
Total between, I'd say, 150 and 250.
Wow.
It tends to fluctuate semester to semester. Our numbers have gone down a little bit over the last couple of years, actually over the last couple semesters. It increased during COVID and then kind of fell off a little bit. But it changes semester to semester, but I'd say between 150 and 250. And that's across the entire program. Our one afternoon program is going to be our largest program. We'll see most of our students, so like around 150 students. And then a lot of them take some of our other ABI classes, along with some extra folks who just take maybe an evening class. So as the counselor for that program, folks don't have to register themselves. So once I do an intake, which I'll go over momentarily. So once I do an intake, I put folks on an interest list for whatever program they're most interested in, whether afternoon, evening, or morning program. And we specifically enroll them on the back end. So there's no need for them to access their portal and enroll themselves. We make sure that they're enrolled. And then our instructors have constant communication from then on with folks, so they know when to sign on for their Zoom classes, how to access it. We send daily emails with Zoom links so folks can recall which Zoom links they have or which classes they have. So it's just a matter of folks getting connected with me. I have at this point a running list for folks who are interested in the fall, for example, and I call them at the end of July, schedule intakes. And it's just a matter of me getting them on the phone or on Zoom or however they feel most comfortable. Some folks still come in person, but the actual registration part we'll do on our end.
Great, thank you.
Some of our curriculum, cognitive retraining, communication skills is a huge one, psychosocial support, a lot of self-advocacy skills, academic skills for folks who might be interested in going back to school. coping skills. Our summer classes, we sometimes have some creative development classes like art classes or cooking classes for folks. And then vocational exploration. So one of the classes we have is like an occupational opportunities type class where folks can explore some of the programs in our community that might help them reintegrate into work, like the Department of Rehabilitation. They talk in depth about interest, resume writing, interview skills, how to request accommodations on the job, which is something a lot of folks are looking for. And how to kind of advocate for that. So a little bit about each of our classes or programs. We call them programs, but they're classes within our program. So we have an ABI afternoon program, which is our largest program. This is the one that has about 150 students, give or take, each semester. So it meets Monday through Thursdays from 1 to 3:30. There is an option for part-time if folks are like, I can only make half of that, I can only make a couple of days. That's not a huge issue to us. Or if folks are like, I'm going on vacation or I have appointments on Thursdays, not an issue at all, as long as they just communicate that to us. We won't drop students if they, miss a couple of days, or if they can only come Tuesdays and Thursdays, or whatever it might be. Again, that class or program holds about 130 to 165 students per semester, 65 to 85 attend per day. And that's because some students, like I said, only come Mondays and Wednesdays, or Mondays and Tuesdays, whatever their schedule allows them. It's a team teaching style, meaning there's different classes within that program. So this is why we enroll students, because it can get a little bit complicated if we're breaking things up within the program. There's 6 instructors, and they move between Zoom rooms each day. So it's split up into first and second period. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like. And each class size can be between 8 and 35 students, but depending on how popular that actual class is. So here is an example of what our schedule might look like. So as mentioned, Mondays, it's split into 2 periods, each day split into 2 periods. So for instance, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock might be, folks will choose one of these classes to attend, and that's the one that they'll attend for the whole semester. And we help them figure out which one they'd like to do. Sometimes I do that during the intake. Sometimes we send this online, and we send a paper version too. Sometimes I do it over the phone. Sometimes I do it over Zoom. However folks might feel like it's most helpful. And then once folks do it one time, they tend to have a good idea of how it goes. There's a break between, about a 30-minute break, and then from 2:30 to 3:30 there's another class that you can take. These are just some examples of each class. Now the ones that are connected like this are 2-part class, so we recommend if students are going to take memory strategies on Monday, that they're available on Tuesday to take the class as well. There's stress management classes. We send a description of each of the classes for each semester to each student, so they have an idea of, this is what I want to work on, this is what aligns with that. We have yoga within the program, peer support classes, computer journaling. We have a book club for folks, meditation classes, communication, sexuality, and intimacy, all kinds of things. And we tend to change it up each semester. So again, this is just an example of what a semester might look like. This was the fall 2022 semester. Now folks can just go to first period, like I said, or just second, or just first period on a Monday and not the rest of the semester, or not the rest of the week. Totally up to them. A lot of folks prefer this program because there are a lot of options, whereas the other classes are just one instructor, and they might prefer to break it up or change it up day to day. We have a program at our ECC campus, which tends to focus specifically on speech articulation. It meets Monday through Thursdays from 12 to 3 o'clock. Again, focuses on speech, language skills, cognition, basic reading and writing. About 45 students are enrolled, 20 to 25 each day. There's 2 instructors, both speech and language pathologists. I think this semester there was only 1, and class size is about 10 to 20 students. Now, this is for folks who are experiencing like aphasia, dysarthria, or any sort of like speech challenges that they might have. There's a speech class within the afternoon program that we just looked at, but if folks are just looking to focus specifically on speech, this is the one for them. And this is when folks maybe have exhausted their speech and language through their insurance, or they're getting less and less speech therapy, and this is something that they really want to focus on.
But that doesn't have to be the case. They can come even while they're in maybe speech therapy or something like that. They can still participate in those, right?
They can. It just might disrupt maybe the flow that they're having within their speech therapy outside of the program. So if there's something specifically they're working on with Sharp or with their speech pathologists elsewhere, and if this is kind of disruptive to that, then we usually say, hold off. You can attend one of our other programs, but ultimately it's up to them.
But the counselor, like you would go over, and because you're kind of one-on-one with them, and so you all kind of discuss those kind of things and help recommend that, right?
So during the intake, we talk about all the programs within the ABI program, or all the classes within the ABI program, some of the things that they're hoping to work on, and which class or program might be the best fit for them.
Okay.
We have an ABI program at the ECC campus, the speech one that focuses specifically on speech and aphasia. And this is kind of what it looks like. There's usually announcements, there's a period, a break, and a period. It's often taught by 2 instructors. I think at this point there might be 1 instructor, but typically there's 2, just to kind of change things up a little bit for folks. And then we have an ABI morning Zoom program. There are a few instructors for this program, but there's usually 1 instructor a day. So there's not team teaching in that, it's broken up throughout the day. So Monday might be 1 instructor, Tuesday another, Thursday another, Friday another. This is a morning program, so this might be a good fit for folks who maybe do better in the morning, or might have work later in the afternoon. We usually tend to start folks in this program because it's smaller class size. It can be less overwhelming for folks, especially if they have to just attend 1 class a day, and not kind of move between classes. It's a good way to kind of get their feet wet and have an understanding of what our program aims to do. There's usually 20 to 30 students enrolled, 8 to 15 attending a day. Another program that folks can attend part-time. And there's a single Zoom room a day. So again, they don't have to go first period, second period, which can confuse some folks. And then this is kind of what it might look like. So maybe Monday, Tuesday, Joanne teaches, and she might focus on brain challenges, exercises, brain injury issues. And then Tuesday, she might focus on communication issues and emotional regulation. And then Wednesday, Julie might focus on speech, language, and cognitive skills, memory strategies, organization, those kinds of things. And then Thursday might be like a yoga or adaptive fitness class with meditation or stress management. Friday with Joanne might be like winding up the week, student projects, folks sharing out, gearing up for the week ahead, those kinds of things. So it's just an example of what a week might look like for the morning program. We have an evening class, which meets 6 to 9 p.m., which can be late for some folks, but a lot of our students might work, and this might be the best fit for them. There's about 40 to 65 students to that class. Margaret teaches that class, usually a single teacher. typically student-centered, individual and group activities. There's a lot of sharing out that goes into that class. Real life solutions. Folks might come to that class with an issue they might be having at work or in their life, and they kind of do some solution-based sharing out, time management skills, communication, memory strategies, social skills, and confidence. Great for survivors who are transitioning into work, school, or the community again. It's a great tune-up class, so folks might have left the program for a while and might want to come back and just kind of get a refresher on things, or folks who are working and still want to work on their organization time management skills, or just have a connection to the program still, they might take that class. Now 6 to 9 can be pretty late for some folks, so that's something that kind of deters some people from taking that class because of the time frame. So requirements. So typically how it works is if folks are interested in the program, and my contact information will be on here as well, and so you'll have a good understanding of who you reach out to. So folks who are interested in the program reach out to me and just say, I'm interested in the brain injury program. If we're doing intakes at that time, I'll let them know, or if we're doing them at a later time, I'll let them know as well. Typically what we're required during the intake is documentation or medical documentation of an acquired brain injury after the age of 13. And then if it was acquired before the age of 13, it tends to be on a case-by-case basis, see if it's a good fit for the program. And that tends to be because a huge focus of our program is life after a brain injury. Understanding life before and after can be a huge focus for some of our classes. And so folks tend to get the most out of it if they have some memory of their life before their injury. But again, case-by-case basis if it's before the age of 13. So documentation of disability can be neuropsych reports. It can be something from a student's portal that says that they had a brain injury, discharge paperwork, really any, or it could be a letter from the doctor. We have forms that we can give folks that their doctor can fill out, really any sort of medical documentation that's going to indicate a brain injury.
I have a question about that, Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I know that we have a lot of survivors that have shared with us that they've had a brain injury for years because they had a really bad concussion or a accident or something like that, that they've never been quote unquote diagnosed with it. So these type of documents that you're saying is basically pretty much almost anything that shows that they are recovering after an injury that has affected their brain. It does not have to be a quote unquote diagnosis. Is that what I hear you say?
Yeah, so we can, it's pretty flexible. So at one point it was that we needed to have diagnosis, medical documentation, something that had a brain injury diagnosis listed. A lot of folks come to us with letters from their doctor that says like student or patient reports concussion and from 2005, whatever it might be. And that suffice. That's enough for me. And that's enough for us to qualify them for the program. If it's another disability that they experience, like a mental health disability, or that's something that they're receiving support for, that will qualify them for our program as well. So there's a lot of other avenues that we can take. We tend to, not deny students because they can't find the documentation that we're specifically looking for, or that says specifically acquired brain injury. We tend to be able to find what we need in order to enroll them in our program.
Okay, great information.
Yeah. Appropriate behavior for classroom settings. So folks within the acquired brain injury program still have to abide by the student code of conduct under San Diego Community College District, meaning if there is inappropriate behavior that violates Title IX, that they would be at risk of not being able to attend our program. So something that we kind of screen for during the intake, if they're emotionally prepared for the class. Age 18 and up, Like I said, we're underneath the community college district, so folks who are attending our classes have to be the age of 18. Able to manage Zoom requirements, which is a bit of a challenge for some folks. So the ability to click a link or have downloaded Zoom to either their phone or their computer or their tablet. We often train folks or help them figure it out for the first few times. That can be challenging if we can't get them on the phone or if we can't see them in person to some capacity. But it's something we are happy to help folks with to the best of our ability. But unfortunately, that's just one of the requirements, is being able to access Zoom at this time. So enrollment, and again, I can send this to you folks so you have my contact information. So this is my Google number, which goes to my cell phone. I have 2 office numbers, but I am in 3 different offices throughout the week at 3 different campuses. So that poses a little bit of a challenge in getting a hold of me on campus. So I typically tell folks the best way to get a hold of me is over email, because it's something that I have access to from everywhere. My Google number, you can call and leave a voicemail at, but I'm often in appointments throughout the day. And so I often won't get back to you until later. But either one works for me. If folks are interested in the ABI program at ECC, which are listed, that speech focused program, Kim Salerno is going to be the counselor for that program. Here's her number, her Google number listed here, and her email. Typically, email is the best way to get a hold of her. Now, if you're unsure, I'm not really sure what program would be the best fit for me, you can just get a hold of me, and then we would discuss that during an intake, and then I would pass your information off to Kim, who would enroll you in the speech program. So enrollment, as I mentioned, you'd email a counselor, me or Kim Salerno, to set up a Zoom appointment. I'm also available on campus, but Zoom tends to be the easiest for some folks. If Zoom is a bit of a challenge, I'm happy to talk to folks on the phone as well. There is an acquired brain injury application, which I send you or we fill out during the intake. Some folks have that application on hand from somebody that they might know, or another instructor or support service that they use outside of continuing ed. That's just one part of the enrollment process. The other is providing medical documentation, which I said we tend to be able to get pretty easily from folks. You'd meet with me, the counselor, or Kim to determine which program might be the best fit. And then you attend online Zoom classes. So for summer, for instance, it begins June 12th. We are in constant contact with folks up until the very first day of class. So sending you Zoom information, making sure we have your contact information, sending you the schedule so you have a chance to choose classes before you attend, descriptions of those classes. We tend to help you figure those out. And we try to start the process as early as possible. We haven't started the process for fall yet because we don't have the fall schedule yet in terms of the layout of which classes are going to be available when that I showed you. So once that's done, we'll schedule intakes and folks will be able to start that process. Once we have the intake, you're typically enrolled pretty quickly after that, as long as the schedule is live on the back end of things. I just have one last thing that came to mind, because since we've gone on Zoom, a lot of folks from outside of the state have reached out interested in enrolling in our program, whether that's friends of folks that we might know or family members outside of the state. Folks who would like to enroll in our class have to be California residents or have a California address. So I just wanted to give folks that heads up. While we wish we could support everybody outside the state, unfortunately, because we're underneath the community college district, we have to abide by those within the state guidelines. So I just wanted to make sure I clarify that as well. But if you have any questions on that, let me know. So as mentioned, some of the benefits of the CE or continuing education model is open entry and open exit. So folks can leave and come back whenever they'd like, as long as we still exist and we have no plans to go anywhere. So Folks have left us for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, and then came back and then left again. We're here to support folks, and the instructors in the program have been with us for quite some time and tend to remember a lot of the students. There's a lot of peer support and networking that folks can do. There's no performance pressure, so classes are not graded. You're not taking a bunch of rigorous exams. If there are materials that test your knowledge, it's just for us to understand how we can support you better, some of the areas that we can focus on to support you better. So there's no performance pressure in that you have to get good grades or you have to pass or anything like that. There's no pass or no pass. Focus on awareness and advocacy and adjustment. And that can kind of be tailored. The classes that you take are tailored to what your interests are and what your goals are. It's student-centered and a holistic approach with an emphasis on quality of life issues. That's a huge focus of a lot of the classes that we have. Holistic in that we have a brain class where folks have an understanding of the brain and how their brain injury might affect certain areas of their life. And then from there, folks can kind of decide after that semester that they take that class, the classes that they want to focus on after they've kind of identified areas of weaknesses and strength.
Right.
Some just little blurbs from folks within the program. This one's from Patty. Just realizing there's a place where I feel comfortable and accepted here at ABI has been awesome. We have incredible students who have been with us for a long time or short period of time, and each one of them have great impact on us. This one's from our student Mary. The time I spent in this class gave me the courage to reach out to the community college where I used to teach, taught, and asked about paid tutoring positions in the English Center. I got a job and will be starting mid-January. She has since started this job. This would have never happened without the growth and support I've experienced at ABI. I will only be working a few hours a week, but I know I'll be using the strategies I've learned at ABI to be successful in my new job. It's helped me find new ways to use my brain to build a different and better life. So that's wonderful. Being in ABI's safe environment with fellow survivors was a life-changing experience. I learned time management skills, listening skills, anger management, self-awareness, memory, study skills, and most importantly, career counseling. This is from Shelley, wonderful student. Sarah, the ABI program has helped me speak better, speak more with my family and friends, speak more clearly and louder, be more confident, and be more organized and prepared. ABI has also taught me memory strategies like writing more down, self-confidence, and self-esteem. I made new friends and developed social support. ABI helped me grieve my losses and create a new self, which is a huge focus of our program. I'm very thankful for ABI program and what it has done for me. I am confident that no support groups, no doctors, no friends, or even family could have replaced the rigorous brain rewiring that the ABI program provided for me. It gave me a place to belong and a hope to recover, which is wonderful to hear. I think a huge focus or a huge portion of our program focuses on that network of people that survivors find so helpful. Connections to the community, connections to jobs, connections to just support groups, anything that might be available in the community.
Yeah.
From our student Patricia, what a difference these classes accomplish for our son. He feels whole again and belongs to a family of education. We're Team ABI at the SDBIF Survive Headstrong Walk. We've participated in this fundraising for about 16 years and have been the #1 fundraising team in San Diego, all thanks to our students and Heike, who spearheads the entire thing. So that's wonderful and something that we get to participate in regularly.
We're very proud to have you all as a team.
All right. Well, if that's it, thank you again for having me. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Um, or if you'd like to give me a call, you can also do that and leave a voicemail. I'm happy to reach back out to you folks.
Thank you. That was such a wonderful, wonderful presentation of information. It takes a whole team to put all of these things together. And we do that for you. We do that for you, your friends, your loved ones. And we invite you to participate and join in with us. And anytime that we bring you people that have information or resources that you can connect to, no worries if you ever like, what was that, and you need to contact us and say, hey, I saw this and I just need to connect to it. We keep that information, and we can always share it with you. Again, reach out to us if you are in need of connecting to resources. You can again always reach out to us, and we are here for you. So have a wonderful Saturday. Be safe, be comfortable, be positive. Thank you.